Welcome back, everyone. Welcome to the ACE podcast. I'm back with you today. We are going to pick up on a different topic today. I think Christina's got something in store for us. But last week we spoke about intuition. We spoke about, well, I shouldn't say last week, it was the last session, because now we are doing this podcast more than weekly. We're starting to do it maybe once or twice a week. But so the last session, we spoke about intuition. We spoke about everything that gets in the way of us using intuition. And today, I'll let Christina let you know what we're in store for. As you know, I don't like to know too much about what Christina's going to ask and discuss, and that way it's all brand new for me and I can speak in the moment. So we're still continuing. Christina and I we're still working. No one's been fired. Christina's joining me from Los Angeles. Something's working. We're in episode 4, so no one's fired us. But all the way from Los Angeles, and I'm from Bondi in Sydney. Christina, welcome to the ACE podcast.
Thanks, Amir. So today, I want to talk about sales, which I feel like for some people can be uncomfortable. And I want to talk about authentic sales and how to sell authentically. And we even actually had someone reach out on Instagram, just give a shout out to Chloe, who was really looking forward to this topic. We mentioned that we might have this as a topic on our first episode, just because there's so much here. You had mentioned talking about sales as an exchange of energy. And so I would love to hear, how do we sell authentically? How do we sell without those bad feelings of like feeling like we're selling?
Such a big question. Such a big. This immediately makes me go, well, we're going to need a couple of episodes in this. But let's see where we go. I just wanted to also thank Chloe for asking the question or connecting with us on social media. I want to encourage people, if you haven't had the opportunity to actually ask questions, you're more than welcome to email us. We've actually set up an email for the podcast. So it's just askaz@amirzogi.com. So feel free to pose your questions, and we may be discussing it on a particular podcast. I also want to encourage you, if you haven't started following us or subscribing to the podcast, ensure that you do, so you can not miss out on any podcast. But okay, so first of all, why do people feel hesitant when it's asking for the sale? What do we and before you go, well, this is a topic that's not really important for me because I don't sell. Let me just stop you right there and let you know that everybody sells. We are all selling, and we are all selling all the time. The moment you get up in the morning and you decide what to wear based on how you feel or where you're going, you're selling yourself. I mean, you're not going to walk out tomorrow naked, okay? Because that's selling something else, right? So even if you try not to sell, you're actually selling. So you're always selling, whether you wear makeup today, whether you put moisturizer on, whether you wear deodorant, what aftershave or perfume you wear, what are you going to wear to work? Our clothing that we wear is an expression of how we feel or how we want to feel. And we want to sell that not only to the world or to our environment, but we're also selling it to ourselves. So I just want to make that clear, that even though you may feel uncomfortable about sales, you're already doing it. And but let's have a look at why people feel so uncomfortable to ask for the sale, do the pitch. And the best way to explain this is to talk about our greatest fear. And I don't know, they did a research. I don't know who they are. The people who do the researches. I once heard that our greatest fear, and the number one fear that we have as human beings, is number 1, public speaking. Number 2 is fear of death. So more people are afraid to get up on stage and speak publicly than they are to die. right? So more people are afraid of that. But let's break this down and look at, well, why? What is it about public speaking that we are so afraid of? You're selling. You're selling. What are you selling? Well, number one, you're selling yourself. And some people are like, well, no, I don't want to sell myself. Whether you like it or not, you are selling yourself. Now, the best thing to sell is your authentic self, right? And when you're not trying to sell your authentic self, that's when you come across salesy or inauthentic, as people would call it, right? So you got to understand, well, why is it that we are so afraid to public speak? Why is it that we are afraid of selling? Well, if you look at public speaking, it's not public speaking that we are so afraid of. We are afraid of rejection. We are afraid of someone saying, I disagree with you, or have a counter argument with you, or don't like you, I judge you, I reject you. And again, if you peel the layers of the onion back even more, what is it that we're really afraid of when someone doesn't like us? When someone rejects us, when someone judges us, when someone challenges us, what is it that we're really afraid? We feel unloved. Believe it or not, it's still got to do with love. You feel rejected. And when you feel rejected, you feel unloved. And most of us this is why most of us are continuously doing things in the world, showing up and selling ourselves in order to be accepted, in order to gain people's approval, to gain recognition. Because when you get people to accept you and approve of you and to recognize you, what is it that you feel? You don't feel rejected. I mean, it's the opposite. You feel accepted. And what does it feel like when you're accepted? You feel love. You feel loved. When people approve of you, what do you feel? You feel love. When you gain recognition, what do you feel? You feel loved. So why we get lost in selling our inauthentic self, and that's what it is. We're selling our inauthentic selves in order to gain recognition, appreciation, acceptance, and the approval from others. Why? Because we're looking for love. We want to ensure that we are loved. Now, how do we break that pattern? What do you think? It's to love yourself. And it's all about self-love. Now, when I talk about self-love, I know it sounds woo-woo, and we're talking about entrepreneurial conversation here, and you're like, hang on a sec, what the fuck has self-love got to do with sales? Everything, motherfucker. It's got everything to do with sales, because your fear of not asking for the sale, your fear of not being able to pitch yourself is all based on what if someone doesn't love me? And that fear is all because you don't love yourself. There is a part of yourself that you haven't completely loved. Before you think, oh no, I love myself. I love myself when, and I look at myself in the mirror and no. But do you love yourself when you stop and you're doing nothing? You're not pursuing, you're not achieving, you're just stopping. Do you still love yourself in that moment? Or do you feel like, oh, does that make you feel uncomfortable? Have you noticed that at night, when we do stop, we've been working, hustling, grinding, we come home. Have you noticed how many people require to drink? I'm not talking about just having one glass of wine with your dinner because you love your food and you love your wine. I'm talking about it is a requirement for you to have a drink, and 2 or 3. And you think to yourself, you don't have a problem. The reason you require that drink is because you feel uncomfortable when you stop. That's when you realize if there is true self-love. When you stop. It's like there is an awkward pause in your life. And in that awkward pause, do you feel comfortable? Last session, we talked about finding your certainty in the uncertain. Oh, that was a session before. But can you feel comfortable in the pause? You know, when you go into a lift and an elevator and there's already someone standing there and you kind of smile or don't smile, or you look at the ground or pretend you're on the phone or get on your phone. Why do we do that? Because it's an awkward silence. Just like that. Why do we feel so awkward in the awkward silence? Well, it's the same thing. I'm just getting you to have a reference point where some people feel awkward when there is silence. There could be a conversation you're having, and you could be on a date, and there's just a moment of silence. And in that silence, there's an opportunity to really connect far deeper than the connection that you currently have. And sometimes someone feels uncomfortable and they go, "How was the weather today?" You know, that's what I'm talking about, that awkward silence. Well, the same thing happens when you come home. There's that awkward silence, or there's that awkward pause, because now you're at home by yourself. Like if you didn't turn the TV on, if you didn't have a drink, how would you feel? Have your meal. How would you feel? Do you feel like there's a itch you need to scratch? Like there's an awkwardness, and that's why so many of us. I mean, when I say us, this does not include me because I hardly drink whatsoever. But that's why so many people have to have a drink at night, because at night is when they stop. So that's when you really realize if you love yourself. I know if you're looking at your life and going, "No, I'm achieving, and look at me, I'm traveling the world and I'm shopping and I'm busy and I'm fucking getting things done," you know, and you think to yourself, "I love myself because of that." Oh, I know. It's easier to love yourself when you're achieving. It's easier to love things when you got the grind going and you're going and you're pushing and you're making things happen and you're like, "Ooh, yeah." Right? You're socializing and you're going out and you're having dinners and lunches and friends and family. Yeah. Great. And you go, "I love myself," because you look at that. But that's the very, very surface level of love. What you want to really look at is that when you stop and there's nothing to do and there's a moment of pause, do you feel comfortable in that? If your answer is yes, I would say that there is some deep self-love there. If the answer is no, and if you go, "Well, no, I'm comfortable when I'm by myself, as long as I have a few drinks." It's like going on a date and you feel uncomfortable, like going on the first date. But as long as that was me when I was younger, I was very awkward. If I went on a date, I would have to have a few drinks just to wind myself down, just feel myself relax, because I couldn't be myself without the alcohol. This was many years ago when I was first dating. But do you know what I mean? Like it's so. Anyway, with this topic has become about self-love here, but really that's what it's about. The reason that we are afraid of getting up on stage is because we're afraid of selling ourselves. We're afraid of someone seeing ourselves. And why are we afraid of that? Because we're afraid of being judged. We're afraid of not being accepted. We're afraid of that someone might not approve of what we've got to say or who we are. And what does that feel like? You feel rejected. And what's rejection? You feel unloved. So that's I can't even remember your question, Christina, but that's the reason that we avoid or we feel uncomfortable about the sale. Now, the next thing I want to do you have any questions around that or any pointers about that, Christina, before I move on?
Well, I'll just remind you of the question as well, which was then, it's so important to realize why. I mean, that's just, I felt that so much to just understand why that's scary for us.
Yep.
But the question is then, how do we sell authentically? Which almost is like, well, how do we get up there and love ourselves,
Yep.
So, yeah.
Obviously, there's a the answer that I've shared so far, and what we're discussing is a far more deeper, long term answer. It's something that you work on throughout your entire life, and as you become more deeply connected with yourself, you find yourself deeply loving yourself. But that's what I wanted to say before is that for you to love yourself, it's not as easy as just sitting in front of the mirror and saying, I love myself, although that may be an initial start and it's somewhere where you can kick off. But to find love for yourself, you have to go far deeper and connect with yourself more deeply. Okay. But anyway, so let's leave love there for a sec. And for us, just for now, just to understand, that's what we're afraid of. That's why we're afraid of the sale and asking for the sale. The next thing that I train my guys in, my business, Red Baron, anyone who's my ground crew, I teach them the first thing that when they join the company, besides safety and all that jazz, safety in aviation and, customer service. But the first thing I teach them is all about sales. And the first thing I tell them is that the number one reason why someone doesn't sell is because nobody asked them. And again, why did nobody ask them? Because we're afraid of what the answer may be. We're afraid of them saying no, which goes back to the same thing as being on stage, okay? So that's the first thing I teach them is that the number one reason the people... So I'm going to put some point forms here. I think that's the best thing for me to do. The number one reason why people don't buy, I should say, is because nobody asked them. Okay. Now, what I want to tell you about sales is that it's just a communication and a transfer of energy. That's all it is. It's an opportunity for you to talk about and connect about what you're passionate about. So when I'm selling, I don't see it as selling. I see it as that there is an opportunity for me to transfer the energy that I have. And what does that mean? Transfer the energy that I have. It means how I feel about the product or service that I'm selling, if you like. I have an opportunity to talk about how I feel about that product or service. And that comes down to communication. It's that the moment you begin to discuss or share or express with someone how you feel about your product and about your service. So in aviation, I'm talking to people about how I feel about flight, how I feel about the experience of flying through 3 dimensions and going outside of your comfort zone and pulling G-forces and having adrenaline running through your blood and your body and having that enthusiasm, that energy just overflowing for 25 minutes, and you just you feel alive. Like for 25 minutes you're just like, wow. And I love that. That's what I like. In fact, the reason I have an aviation business is because I love flying, but I love more sharing the love that I have with flying with others. You see, that's sales right there. I love flying so much, but I love sharing how I feel about flying with others. That's sales. I'm sharing how I feel about flying with others. It's more rewarding for me to share it. So I could go fly my own plane. I've got a couple of planes. I can go fly with them anytime I want, right? But there's more energy that flows up for me when I get the opportunity to share it with others. So I then have no problem in selling my flights or selling my experiences. The number 2 thing that you got to understand about sales is that everybody loves to buy. Do you understand? Like, we all love to go shopping. I mean, okay, maybe sometimes. So I actually don't enjoy shopping that much unless I know what I want, right? But I went to a store yesterday. I went to Lululemon to just buy a couple of things, and I was enthused about buying it's, I mean, how do you feel when you buy something new? What do? You come home, you want to put it on, you want to try it, I'm going to put this in this drawer. I'm going to do, you find the place for it, and you want it. Like today, I went to the gym, and my personal trainer went, "Oh, is that a new shirt?" I went, "Yes, it is. I bought it from Lululemon yesterday," and I was enthused because it was really fitted really nicely. It was just really nice material that they're sweat proof, and I love buying. But you know what I don't love? I don't love to be sold to. When you walk into the store and someone comes and they're a little bit over eager, how can I help you? And you can just feel that inauthenticity. I mean, don't get me wrong, sometimes it's genuine and it's authentic, and they come up to you and go, how can I help you today? But sometimes when someone's pushing you, and you could tell, like, oh, that looks great on you. Yeah. Oh, really? Like, you can feel when someone's pushing or manipulating in order to get the sale. So nobody likes to be sold to, but everybody loves to buy. And that's the first thing that I train my team in, right? Is that you got to understand the number one reason that people don't buy is because you didn't ask for the sale. Believe it or not, because when you don't ask for the sale, and ask for the sale is, would you like to register? Can I get you started? How would you like to pay today? That's asking for the sale, right? If you can't ask for the sale, or you don't have the willingness or the capacity to ask for the sale, what you're telling the person who's potentially the buyer is that you don't believe in your product. You have doubts about this product. But really, it's not doubts about the product necessarily. You have doubts about yourself. But that gets portrayed as, well, they never asked me. This is all happening subconsciously, unconsciously. Again, I don't like to be sold to, but if someone went, how about we get you started? How about you own this piece of shirt? How about you buy this aircraft? Why don't we go? If someone has the capacity or the certainty, because that's what capacity is, to ask for the sale, I immediately think, if I don't buy, I'm going to miss out on something here, because I buy into their certainty. And what you got to understand in sales or in life, because it's just communication. Again, I'll say it again, sales is just a form of communication. It's a transfer of energy. That transfer of energy the energy transfers when you communicate about it. When you express how you feel about your product or service, the energy begins to be expressed, and that's communication. Oh, goodness, it's such a big topic. I'm just trying to break it down for you here. But in sales or anything in life, in negotiation, in anything, the one who has more certainty wins. Now, if it's authentic sale, the person has certainty about their product. The person who's selling has certainty about themselves and how they feel about that product, right? So when I say the one who has most certainty wins, whether it's in negotiation or in sales, right? Someone would think, oh, well, then I just need to fake it till I make it. I need to put on my certainty. I need to, act. That's not what I'm talking about. That's not authentic. Find your authentic feeling that you have about yourself. Find your authentic feeling that you have about that product and service. And if you don't have an authentic feeling about that product and service, well, you shouldn't be selling it, because you will always have to lie. You will always have to fake it. And you will never become, even if you do become successful, it will never become rewarding, because what you've done is you've almost sold your soul instead of sold the product and service. So, of course, it's like when some people go, oh, I want to become a motivational speaker. Well, I want to become a speaker. What do I do? Because this was back when I was a speaker. I'm not per se anymore. I just sit here in my podcast room and do stuff, right? And do retreats. But people always just say, well, what's the key to becoming a speaker? Have something to say. You can't just get up on stage and go, I want to become a speaker. That's not authentic. The reason I became a speaker, I never even decided to become a speaker or a coach. I just found that I had something to say. And I found that I had something to say that no one else was saying, or in a way that no one else was saying. And I was just like, I can't believe no one's even saying this. I can't believe no one's expressing this, right? Even like what we're talking about right now, I'm talking about sales. Well, who talks about sales as being self-love? It's just the way I talk about it is different. So I've got something to say. So and the same thing, the same advice I would give to someone who wants to sell something, you got to have a connection with what you're selling with, what you're selling for. Like whatever it is that you're selling, you got to have a connection with that product and service, right? So that means you believe in it. You have a connection, a passion. The second thing that you need a connection with is yourself. Okay? Because if your attention is just on the result or on the person saying yes, you make yourself small. If your attention is on yourself and how you feel about the product and service, you allow yourself to become very, very big, and you allow yourself to have a lot of certainty being expressed. And I'm telling you, when someone feels that certainty, they just buy. That's what they buy. They don't buy the product or the service. They buy into your certainty. You know why they buy into your certainty? Because they're going, I want some of that. This is unconscious. They're just going, I want to feel how he or she feels. The way they're sharing and the passion they have about their product and service. I want some of that for me. Do you know? And they buy because they buy, and that's what I mean by buying your certainty. They're buying your certainty because they want to feel how you feel about your product and service. I want some of that in my life. And maybe if I buy this product or service, I will have some of that in my life. That's the honest truth. That's what they're buying. Okay. But again, the certainty I just want to highlight, because so fucking important, is that the certainty's got to be authentic. If it's not, if you're manipulating someone, right, that always ends up feeling empty. Even if you manipulated them and you sold them and two things are going to happen. They're going to be unhappy about what they've purchased at some point, right? And at some point, you're going to be unhappy. Okay, because those results don't say you have a moment of, I hit my sales targets. I manipulated. I did what I needed to do to get this accomplish this achievement or have this achievement. But the moment you have that achievement is all about what others think of you, and you're feeling elated because, wow, finally everyone thinks I'm the top dog, I'm the top salesperson, and everyone thinks it's all about getting everyone to recognize you, you see? But again, when you're by yourself, you're empty. Yeah, so it's a moment of a high, and then you feel like, oh, okay, I need to sell more to get more recognition. It doesn't work. Sales is an authentic process, and that authentic process is you talking with someone or expressing or communicating or sharing with someone how you feel about your product and service, and that will become very clear about how you feel about that product and service the more you allow others to actually see how you feel about yourself. Do you know? Like when I'm sharing this stuff on stage or on a podcast right now, it's all about me sharing with people how I feel about myself, how I feel about this product, how I feel about this topic, I should say, because we're having a topical conversation. I mean, can you feel how I feel about this? Can you feel that I'm not putting it on? Can you feel I'm fucking enthused and passionate about this conversation, right? Can you feel that? Do you want some of that? Right? If I told you right now that for this money right now, I can actually, I've got this product that's going to teach you how to have this sales so you can, you would be almost ready to buy. I mean, I don't have anything to sell for you right now. I mean, besides the very topic we're talking about, I'm actually selling this conversation. I am actually selling this topic. Right now, you are either buying into what I'm saying or you're not. So, but again, what allows you to buy into it is the connection that you have with me. What allows you to have connection or with what I'm sharing? What allows you to have the connection with me or what I'm saying is my ability to connect with what I feel, what I'm sharing with you, like this topic. If I don't connect with this topic, you won't connect with me. If you don't connect with me and what I'm talking about, you don't trust me. Right? So you can't fake this shit. It's got to be real. It's got to be authentic. I'm telling you, Chrissy, this is a 2 or 3 part podcast. I mean,
seriously.
When I train my sales team, I spend the whole day on training them about authentic sales. So the 2 things that we've covered here right now is number one, everyone loves to buy, but no one loves to be sold to. Number 2, the number one reason why people don't buy is because you never ask them to. And then we've discussed, well, why do you not ask them to? Because we're afraid of getting a no. Well, why are we afraid of getting a no? Because we're afraid of getting a rejection. Well, why? Because we feel unloved. But why are we so driven to getting loved? Because we don't love ourselves. And I'm so glad that I clarified that what it means to love yourself, because just because you've achieved so many great things, it's deeper than that, man. It's fucking deeper than that.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that you went there too. And what's funny is that we're talking about sales and not once has the word money even come up. It's like most most other ways people are talking about sales out there is about getting the result. It's about, how can I increase my sales? And it's like, wow, like when you are looking at like hitting roadblocks in sales and you look at the connection you're having with yourself, like you talked about, and the connection you're having with your product or service, start there. Like just wow. And, something that was coming up for me as you were speaking is like when you do that, when you connect with the love you have for yourself or the love you have for your product or service, is something that you've spoken about before. Like when you've mastered that, like the results fall at your feet and you're not looking at the result. Like it's not about that, but you still do get results.
Yeah.
And so I love the way you framed that today. So maybe on another episode we can delve more into that and what that means.
I'm happy to make this a double episode and actually our next recording pick up, because I'm telling you there's so much more to sales. I've just shared the tip of the iceberg. And I hope that's landed for our listeners and to understand that, that's the most important thing to understand is why we're afraid of selling. Probably more important than that is to realize that you actually are selling all the time. You just haven't noticed it. That's probably a very, very important point. But I can actually go deeper into this conversation and maybe we'll pick it up in our next episode. And if not, we will pick it up at some point in down the path. What do you reckon?
Yes, for sure. I think there's a lot more. I can feel a lot more that you could share here. And there's something about like when you're talking about the connection and how you're sharing just in this moment, like I feel that so deeply, and every time as you were speaking about something, because I'm tuning into what you're saying because there might be a question for another talking point. And every time something would come up, you would immediately answer it. And I wouldn't even have to ask for the clarification of that. It was just, it felt so in the flow. I felt so connected to you as you were speaking. And it's like, well, that's the connection that you have with yourself and what you're, selling in this podcast, so to speak. And I could feel that so deeply. So I think the listeners will get something from that as well.
I never forget once I was running a weekend a retreat or a program, and this one guy was feeling really challenged by some of the things that I was actually sharing, and he decided to stand up and voice his concerns or and basically just went, you know what? I think you're just selling us. Like you're no. He said, I think you're just brainwashing us. And I was like, oh, really? What makes you think I'm brainwashing you? He's like, well, some of the things that you're saying is so outrageous. And, this was a very deep program that I was running. And, and I said, good on you for speaking up about that. Number one, that you think I'm brainwashing you. But if you think that brainwashing is me selling you a new idea, then yeah, I am brainwashing you. And I hope, you better hope that I'm successful in brainwashing you, because if I fail, you're left with what you had before. And there's a reason that you came here to this retreat, because you're looking for something more. So you better hope that I'm fucking good at brainwashing. You better hope that I'm good at selling an idea, because if I fail, then you're failed as well, my friend. And it just, that's, because it's just like, well, you're brainwashing, but yeah, I'm washing your brain out of all the fucking doubt that you live with, and all the fucking negativity that you live with, and all the fucking small. Yeah, I'm fucking with that shit needs to be washed out, But he was just very challenged by some of the things, and he ended up being a very amazing client, because he actually just realized, oh, you know what? Yeah, okay. All right. He was very, it just landed for him. I think by the end of the program, he realized that, this is, anyway.
I think all of our brains could use a good washing. So when you look at it that way.
Look, but at the end of the day, I always say in all my work, I'm not here to convince anyone. I'm just sharing my way of thinking, the way I view the world, the way I view sales, if you like. That's the way I view it. That's the way I see it. And what's my experience of that? I feel detached. I feel free. It's not about the money. Does it mean I don't make money? Not at all, right? So to me, it's not about convincing people of what's right or wrong. It's just, for me, is an opportunity for me to connect with how I feel with the way I live. This one thing I can tell you, this is the way I live. It's not like, it's not like I'm saying something big that's going to sell better or it's going to be received better. No, I'm just selling who I am. I'm just sharing who I am. And sometimes people find a lot of inspiration in that. And sometimes a lot of people relate to that, and they go, oh, I really relate to that. And if I've, inspired someone or saved someone's lives or changed or transformed someone's life, great. And at the same time, if I've pissed some people off, challenge them, then great too. Because at the end of the day, it's what I'm saying is not really about the receiver or the listener here, believe it or not. It's actually just about me connecting to me and connecting to how I feel about me and connecting with how I feel about the topic that I'm talking about. That's what it's about. And through that, you're going to inspire people and you're going to challenge people. But their inspiration is credit to them, not to me. And they're the ones that are being challenged, well, it's the credit to themselves, because that's what they are. If you continuously, whenever there's any change or any transformation to take place, there's always going to be a challenge. So credit goes back to them, not even to me. So, and what does that do? It frees me up to, not take credit or blame. If someone loves it, great, good for you. If someone hates it, great, good for you too. Because what I'm sharing is about me and it's about how I feel. And I wasn't looking for your approval or your acceptance or your recognition. You see?
Yeah. And I love that you shared that, because I feel like it gives people even more of a glimpse of like what it feels like to have that connection to yourself and to be doing it for yourself. So such a juicy topic today. I feel like that's all we have time for today, but I'm really looking forward to continuing this conversation. And I just want to remind everyone before we sign off to make sure you subscribe and make sure you, I'll give the email address one more time. It's askaz@amirzogi.com if you have a question or a topic or a process you're having in regards to entrepreneurship that you'd like for us to discuss. So thanks everyone for tuning in today, and we will see you on the next one.
Looking forward to it, Christina. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.